Oh, shit.
Oh,
Oh, sorry, mate. All right, we're ready to go. Ryobi, give me a call. All right, now, outdoor bark deterrent. This is kind of like having a megaphone when you hear, and you're pointing it in one area. And when the dog barks, you get the microphone and you put it in front of the speaker and it lets out that horrible high-pitched scream. Okay, great, thanks for joining us. What we're going to do today, we are going to be talking about barking dogs next door. Now, we've done a really detailed blog post on this. So if you go to our blog, look for the second one down and it'll tell you all about what to do if your neighbour's dog is barking. So a few different strategies as far as what might be a preferable product when it's your dog, but when it comes to the neighbour's dog, what the heck are you going to do? All right, let's have a look at barking dogs next door. What do we do first up? The first thing to do is always realise that if you're on the receiving end and someone is telling you you have a barking dog problem and you own the dog, just remember, they've probably had it up to about here. People don't go knocking on your door or sending you notes or calling the rangers or getting the rangers out and starting bark diaries, etc., because there's a little bit of a barking problem. Okay, there are some incidences where you might find that is a little bit of animosity between two neighbours, and the Shires obviously realise that. They've been around for a while and they're very experienced. They can look through all the stuff. But if you own a dog and you get a letter in your next door, in your letterbox, or you have someone knock on your door, take it seriously. They've obviously spent a bit of time putting up with this for quite a long time, and you can imagine what it's like if you're trying to sleep or someone goes to work and then you're being annoyed by the dog and you can't do your work, or your kids are trying to sleep, etc. It's very annoying having like water torture, having a dog barking next door. So if someone knocks on your door and you're the dog owner, take it seriously, give us a call, and we can help you with some options to help teach your dog to bark appropriately and not bark too much, okay? Allow them to bark when it's necessary, but stop them. And there's only a few collars around that have that technique that are very safe, so give us a call. Back on subject. Okay, if you have someone who owns a dog next to you and the dog is barking too much, you've got to realise dogs do need to bark. What you're looking for is be realistic on the number of occasions the dog's barking within a certain period of time. I believe there were guidelines produced in South Australia or Victoria as to how many times a dog can bark, how many sessions and how long those sessions are before 6 p.m. at night and after 6 p.m. at night. But there's no hard and fast rules, but really the issue is with the person living next door to the dog. If it's annoying to them, then it's kind of like some people having fingernails scratched down a blackboard, and to others they're quite happy with it because they might be dog owners as well. And you might find that one dog barks and the whole neighbourhood starts barking. So we'll have a look at this later and we'll do a little bit of unboxing, Colin style. All right, now just let me have a drink, I'll carry on. First thing to do, pretty obvious, knock on the neighbour's door if you're on good terms and say, hey mate, look, your dog's been barking a little bit. Try to be specific. Find out when the dog's barking, if there are any particular triggers that are causing the barking, like when you open your back door, this is what happens, or every time you drive your car in or someone comes up down the street, that's what's triggering the dog to bark. Very important information for a dog owner. And try and make sure that it is their dog. I believe there are some apps you can download that will record and come on when they hear the dog barking, and they will come on, start recording, and they'll give you a timestamp of when the recording started. They'll give you the recording, and so you can listen to it, and when the recording goes off, and you can set the sensitivity to only come on when the dog is actually doing the barking, and that's good evidence or proof if you want later on, if you do need it later on. Now the other thing, a lot of people don't like to go to a neighbour's and knock on the door and say, hey, you're playing your music too loud. I don't like your kids bouncing on the trampoline at 2 o'clock in the afternoon because I'm trying to sleep. And it's the same with the dog. I don't like your dog barking all day because it's really disturbing my peace. So they may not want to go and knock on your door. So be a little bit sympathetic if someone does leave an anonymous letter in your letterbox that says, hey mate, can you have a look at your dog barking? But just realise it takes a lot for them to pluck up the courage and sneak out at 4 o'clock in the morning while everyone's asleep and put it in your letterbox in the first place so they don't get caught and realise who's actually doing it. Be a little bit sympathetic towards those people because you're the dog owner. They don't want to ruffle the waters, but it is a serious problem. So take that sort of letter seriously. Keep it civil, folks. If you are going to send a letter to your neighbour, we had a lady call us the other day, and she said she actually had a death threat towards her dogs and we worked out some barking solutions for her dog. So keep it civil, keep it nice, polite, be specific, and record times, etc., and why it is disturbing you as well. People hopefully will do the right thing and become responsible dog owners and help control. Now, that brings us on to what happens if you've done all this and still nothing is happening, or you want to try. You can do some outdoor bark deterrents. Now, who's our sponsor? Let's find out who our sponsor today is. We don't have a sponsor? What? Okay, no sponsor today. Anyway, we'll give a bit of some advice on one particular product, but if anyone does want to sponsor this segment, give us a call. And particularly if you own, what's this brand? Ryobi. Give me a call. All right, now, an outdoor bark deterrent. This is kind of like having a megaphone when you hear, and you're pointing it in one area. And when the dog barks, you get the microphone and you put it in front of the speaker and it lets out that horrible high-pitched scream. We've all been at a concert, someone walks past a speaker with the microphone and you get this high-pitched scream. That's how this works, but it's at a pitch that we can't hear and the owner of the dog can't hear. It's at a pitch the dogs hear, they find it quite annoying, and the decibel level is quite high as far as the noise and the loudness. This is designed to distract a dog from barking. It's not a 100% solution, but if you can also do something like, well, if it's not your dog, you can't really be throwing things over the fence to entertain the dog, but no one's probably going to notice, and I'll deny having said this, if you get some light cat food and throw it over the fence and they have to go and ferret it out. That's another good trick for a neighbour of a barking dog. You know, get some of our slow release long-term toys as well as a barking collar, because we can take away the barking, but you're going to have to entertain your dog. So that's part of a management program for barking. Anyway, back to this unit. What happens with this is if you aim it down at the where the dog is, and clear line of sight and direction is very important. This is a noise that comes out of here, so it's not going to go around corners, and if you've got a fence in the way, it's not going to go through the fence. You'll need to get it above the fence and aim it down at the area. And if the dog moves around to the other side of the house, you might expect to get a 60 to 80% reduction in the barking because you're using one of these things here. So there's a few on the market, but I find that if you buy on price, you kind of buy twice. So give us a call. We've got a couple of models, and the PetSafe has been a very effective one. Now, if you've got a situation where there's many dogs, like there's 2 or 3 dogs on the property, then you might find that there is so much barking energy that this sort of thing is not going to do an effect. So people who have used this in pounds or other areas where there's multiple dogs, you might find there's one dog that'll ignore it and the rest of the dogs suffer. So think about that if you do have 2 dogs and you're going to use it on your own dogs. But hanging over the fence, you would want to get it there. I had a situation where one guy put it on the fence aiming like this, and then we said, we'll put a nail in the tree, do like that, and he got extra reduction in the barking. So it's a good little training tool. Now, the last step, the Shire. They have the authority to knock on someone's door and warn them, send them a letter and warn them. Each Shire has their own bylaws, so I can't go into the actual details of what they're allowed to do. You will have to talk to your Shire if it is your dog, but make sure you go to them with something. Remember, they have the gun, but you have the ammunition. If you don't do what the law requires you to do as far as gathering evidence, giving them specifics about when the dog's barking, how long, how many is deterring, and it depends on which Shire and state you're in as to whether you need to get corroborating evidence from other neighbours and diaries that all match up, then there's no real point going to the rangers because they can't do anything. And guys, if you are a ranger listening to this, then, you know, sometimes I really feel a bit sorry because you're the meat in the sandwich. You get complaints from people to shut a dog up because the dog's barking disturbs the neighbourhood, but they're not willing to do the homework and stick their hand up and say, yes, I'm complaining about the neighbour's dog. So don't be so tough on the Shire Rangers. They are trying to do pretty much an impossible task. Dogs do need to bark, and it all depends on the situation and the cooperation of the dog owner. But that's another story. The Shire is there. If you give them the information, they can go and make inquiries. Then I would take it pretty seriously that someone is prepared to actually go and dob me in. So whether they've got the evidence or not, take it pretty seriously and give us a call about barking solutions, all right? But if you do go to the Shire, go there with specifics, go with what you've already tried to do, because if I was a Shire officer and you called me and said the neighbour's dog's barking, I'd go, well, okay, well, have you gone and told him? and it's probably the response you're going to get from every Shire Ranger you call. And it's over and out. Give us a call if you need to. 1300 the dog. 1300 843 364. Cheers from Colin. Bye.